All right, so Scorpio. This week from Lay Vampire, you pulled Resurrection, Repraise, Recovery, and Comeback. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled Soulmate. Both of these extremely powerful cards together. I mean, extremely powerful. Now, Resurrection. The blessing says that this change can be made and swiftly. Ask for assistance and it will be yours. Let go now and move swiftly through the transition. And then working with this card says it is time to make things happen for yourself. It is time to actively explore what you have always denied yourself the chance to do. For there is a path clearing before you, but it requires an enormous amount of determination on your behalf. You must remake yourself, look within and see what has less than satisfied you. And know that something that you thought was over and done with and decided is truly about to surprise you. So Resurrection, it makes sense with Scorpio. And then not only that, but being in your birthday month, it's good to see that, you know, after going through the death cycle here, there is, you know, some major resurrection happening, but especially so with Soulmate. Now, Soulmate from Chakra Wisdom, like I've said many times when this card shows up, this isn't your typical soulmate card. This is really about the conversation that you have with your own soul. Now, one of the things that I don't read very often with this card is, you know, the card at a glance. It says that this card indicates changing old communication patterns and being open to a new way of interacting. You may no longer be able to have conversations that don't sustain your authenticity. Freedom lies ahead, better than you can imagine. Now, the inspiration for this card says to enjoy the beauty of a rose, we must risk being pricked by our inner thorns. This offers a new way to live. The best incentive to change is love. The personal question says, what truth am I embracing? This card indicates no longer living a lie. And then the key ideas are speaking your truth, choosing love, freedom through transformation, which, yeah, with resurrection being there is perfect. And then it also says an unexpected outcome and new truths. But then there's also resistance to commitment. But the key words are authenticity, treasure, and trust. So for a lot of you, when you're speaking about authenticity, it's basically Scorpio getting back to that and no longer doing things that... Okay, good. Here we go. Here is the energy coming through. The Nine of Wands. So being on guard maybe for some of you. But, you know, I don't know. The first thing that I felt just looking at it was persistence. You know, the Nine of Wands, even though it's considered to be the wounded warrior and it suggests that you still have the wall up, you know, it's also saying, though, that you still have some fight left in you. You know, so there may be a little bit of being on guard, but then there's also persistence on the things that you're wanting, whether it's work, relationships, whatever. But I feel more so that this has to do with you having a little bit of fight left in you. Now, in the past, you have the Fool. So, and I worry a little bit just because of the Nine of Wands being there. The Fool is suggesting taking a new path. You know, for me, this is the clean soul or the clean slate, so to speak. When you see the Fool, it's suggesting that, you know, when you're taking that leap of faith, you need to do it with no preconceived notions of nothing, you know, going in with a clean slate. But when I'm looking at that with the Nine of Wands, I have to wonder that if for some of you, you didn't take a leap of faith, but then, you know, maybe things didn't work out, which is funny because I think I've seen this before. And I worry a little bit, but then at the same time with the Nine of Wands, it's still suggesting that you still have some fight left in you, despite, you know, a leap not happening the way that you wanted it to. But we shall see. Now, in the present, the Three of Cups. So, you know, when I see the Three of Cups, I think of the support system. You know, nothing here is suggesting that these people are bad. You know, but I don't know. I get iffy when I see the Three of Cups, especially if there's other difficult things going on. It's not necessarily that they're bad people, but it may be that you have a lot of people around you that have a lot of things to say about what you're going through, what you're doing. Now, normally, like I said, the Three of Cups is the support system. These are going to be people who actually give a shit about you, what you're doing, and want to celebrate your accomplishments with you. That is the Three of Cups. But it's people. It suggests people. Now, future conditions. And, you know, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying about, you know, these people actually caring about what you're doing, especially if you've been through something difficult here where, you know, I almost wonder that if some of you may be hesitant on doing something new here because of the Nine of Wands being here. you know? I mean, as the past coming through, though, it can suggest that this is something that you've done in the past, or it's still something that's coming through. But if you're on guard and hesitant, there may be people around you that are helping you a little bit and supporting the decisions that you make. And the reason why I say that is because of the Two of Wands being in future conditions. You know, this is deciding how to act and how to move forward, right? What decisions are you going to make? It's also suggesting, in some cases, being at a crossroads, and these people may be influential to the decisions that you're making to act. You know, I'm not seeing anything negative yet, but I'm waiting to see how the Three of Cups is tied in with what's in your environment. So we shall see. Your best path to follow, the Four of Swords. So yeah, you need to think about what you're going to do before you do it. Absolutely. The Four of Swords is telling you to literally put up your swords. It's time to stop fighting here. It's time to start meditating and getting, you know, a moment to think about what you're actually going to do. But then not only that, as the best path to follow, this is the cut off in communication. It is silence. You know, so if you do have, you know, too many people with too many opinions, it may be that instead of being open to, you know, what everyone else is saying, that you need to take a time out for yourself to really think about what you're going to start doing moving forward. And this could be with a job, like I said, or a relationship. It just depends here. But I'm looking at you needing to really think about what action you're going to take and thinking about it for yourself, and not so much internalizing everything that may be being said to you. Oh, in your environment, the sun. So it kind of goes back to, you know, what I was saying before about them not necessarily being bad people. It's just that they may have too many things that they have to say. You know, when we go through difficult situations, we like to surround ourselves with people who understand. You know, especially for females, that's how we bond, and it alleviates anxiety and fear around situations. But when you're looking at the sun and the Three of Cups, you're fine. Like, you're okay. You know, no matter what you choose to do, you're going to be fine. But you need to give yourself a break here before, you know, you decide to start moving forward, especially if you're hesitant about taking a new path because of what you may have been through before, you know. Your hopes and your fears, the Queen of Pentacles. Now, for some of you, this is going to have to do with a person. I feel that more so in this position than I do anywhere else, this and in the environment. When you're looking at the Queen of Pentacles, you're looking at somebody who is stable. You know, typically they are secure. They're able to create their own stable foundation. They provide the comfortable environment. You know, and for some of you, this may be the close person who is thinking practically or speaking practically to you about a situation. They may be the catalyst for what you're going to experience here, where there's a need for you to kind of drop your wall and have some faith. You know, I've always said in some cases, the reason why we meet other people is through our friends or our own group. Now, with the Queen of Pentacles as your own energy, though, you look great. You know, and as far as the fear goes, it's insecurity. It's plain and simple. It's just being insecure. Now, you know, again, I don't know, with the Three of Cups being there, I think that this is somebody who's being, you know, influential on the decisions that you make. You know, but it's not, I don't feel like it's a bad thing, not with the sun being there, because regardless of whatever you decide to do, you're going to be fine. But again, you know, the Four of Swords is still there. You have to think for yourself, you know, especially if you're making, you know, these decisions to act. It's not the Lovers, but it feels like a big decision. You know, if I'm going to do this, then, you know, I have to do this all the way. But then at the same time, I'm still like blocked here with the Nine of Wands. Like, I want to, but I don't, is what it feels like. I want to, but I don't. But regardless, I mean, you know, either way you look at it, it's okay with the sun being there. Now, for some of you, it may just feel like, you know, the situation is draining a little bit, but I'm not really seeing this in the reverse. I'm not seeing it as a bad thing. To me, it's suggesting that, you know, the decisions that you're making, regardless of whatever anybody thinks or what anybody has to say, is ultimately going to be for, you know, your own happiness here. It's a little bit different with the sun. It's like, whatever you decide to do is going to be uplifting for you. So there's like a need to get rid of the wall, but then at the same time, it's still there. Oh, shit. And then the outcome. What the hell? What the hell, Scorp? The Four of Cups. Now, this goes back to last week's reading in the same damn outcome here. When I look at the Four of Cups, I look at somebody who is not receiving what they want. This isn't what I wanted to receive. There's got to be something better than this. And for some of you looking at the fours, oh boy, it suggests stability, but the problem is between the both of them, it's a need to go inward and start thinking about why you're feeling the way that you are, why you're thinking the things that you are. But again, it's like, I'm not receiving the offer I wanted. And then the Three of Wands. Oh my goodness. Okay, so now when I'm looking at the Four of Cups, first of all, when you're looking at the Three of Swords, as far as a clarifier for this can suggest that, some of you have been through a heartbreaking situation and you're trying to understand it. It is about getting to the heart of the matter. And I kind of go back to resurrection here and some of you understanding the heartbreak and the heartbreaking situation, which really sucks now because looking at the Three of Cups, I'm like, oh shit, what the hell is going on here? Now, next to that, though, you do have the Seven of Wands. This, to me, is you speaking up and going, oh, hell no. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. This is how I feel. This is where I stand. This is somebody who is needing to defend themselves, and not only that, defend themselves in the decisions that they're making. But the thing is when you come out of this, you do have the Two of Wands here, and now you have the Three, which is suggesting that you have acted. You will act. And you're waiting to see how things are going to develop, but you still don't see the offer that you want. You're still not getting what you want out of this situation. And that may be where the hesitancy is with the Fool, especially with that being your outcome for last week too. My goodness. Your hopes and your fears, I'm looking at it. Now, this could be the person that you're dealing with. And then again, being a general reading, this could be, somebody who is interfering in a situation or maybe causing you to think differently about what it is that you're wanting. But then on the other hand, this could be, the person, again, that you're hoping or fearing something from. And again, general reading, it could be male or female. But what I'm looking at this, I'm looking at somebody who's insecure. And as far as, your own feelings, it's like in turn, it makes you feel like blah emotionally about the whole situation. I have to wonder if you're not dealing with a person here that can't make up their own damn mind. And again, I swear to God, it goes all back to last week's reading because it's so eerily similar. Now, when you're looking at soulmate and resurrection, basically this is telling you that out of this situation, I think twice is enough. Twice is enough seeing that damn Four of Cups. That's it, right? Now you're going to go through the depths here and then go through, that resurrection. But then soulmate is suggesting that you're no longer living a lie anymore. You're not going to do this anymore. There needs to be different communication, especially when it comes to what you're wanting, whether this is work, possible, especially with the Queen of Cups being there. If this is, a relationship here that you have had faith in, but you're still, and it bothers the shit out of me not seeing what you want with the Four of Cups. Whew. All right, guys. Now, we're going to take a look at the soul trees to see what other messages we can get for you guys. Intuition. Yeah. Yep. Earth. Wow. And then celebration. And for some of you, it's going to be a celebration with the fact that, you went through this resurrection period, and with soulmate being there, hell yeah. Again, for me, when I look at this card, right, the third eye is opening. There's a better understanding of the situation. And then not only that, but, better communication with yourself and what you're wanting. Intuition, you need to pay attention to your damn intuition. I mean, it's like a big reminder. Your intuition is going to guide you in the right spot. But then at the same time, when I see Earth, I think of somebody who needs to get a little bit more grounded. Now, literally, this card means you need to go outside. You have to go outside. You need to get in tune with the surroundings. It helps, especially when it comes to meditation. But you need to get a little bit more grounded with your intuition. But ultimately, you're led to celebration. Even though you may not receive what you want, something is going to come out of this that is going to be better for you in the long run. And as far as the Three of Wands and then looking at the Two, You know, whatever decisions you make here to act, you're doing it. You know, and the Three of Wands is suggesting that after, you know, speaking up and saying, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this again, you know, you may be looking at something completely different here with the Three of Wands, but unfortunately for some of you, it's going to be a waiting game to see how things are going to change. But with celebration being there, ultimately, there's going to be a reason to celebrate. All right, guys, we're going to take a look at Whispers of Love this week to see what messages there are for you guys in terms of love. It's raining. Yeah, if it's raining outside, it's not that easy to go outside, right? Yeah. Oh, boy. You know, and it brought me right back to soulmate seeing this, because there is a lack of commitment there. Consider your foundation. You are being asked to look at how committed you are to love. Now, as far as that goes, I don't think that that's ever an issue with Scorpio, because you're not in a gray area when it comes to love situations. It may be that, you know, the foundation of another person isn't exactly where it needs to be. And maybe there needs to be a look at, you know, how committed you are to like continuing to try to make this happen when it's not. Looking at the Four of Cups. Receive with love and appreciation. Receiving something loving from others is a way of showing love. So now, if you have an opportunity to receive something better than that damn Four of Cups, you know, you have to be open to receiving it. It's almost saying that if you don't get what you want ultimately in the end, you need to question on, you know, how committed you are to continuing to do this. If you're going to continue to see what you don't want to see, right? But then you need to be open to possibly receiving something different. Some of you may be blocking something else out because it's like you're still wanting this to work out when it's continuously not, like over and over and over again, you know. Oh my goodness. All right, Scorp. You know, it bothers me seeing that Four of Cups, but I'm kind of glad that the lovers didn't show up this time. This isn't a make or break situation, you know, and it didn't show up last week either, but it seems to be consistent. But I do think that whatever decisions that you make here, ultimately, you're going to be waiting to see how things are going to develop. But the ultimate question here is how much are you willing to continue to put into a situation where you're not going to get what you want out of it. You're not receiving it, you know, and that could be the heartbreaking situation here, especially if you're dealing with somebody who's insecure as well.